So this week you all get to see me complete an order for a Roblox cake. Here this week I actually made a stencil. I just printed the R for Roblox off the cake in comparison to a couple weeks ago where I did a freehand logo. This one is more specific and it will just be faster if I print it off the size I need it and cut around it with my X-Acto knife. I am doing the layering process that I did 2 weeks ago to create the logo. I am cutting out a circle with a circle cutter. Now in the past when I didn't have circle cutters, I just found something circular around the house that was about the size I needed and cut around that. It wasn't until I got more serious with cakes that I decided to go ahead and pay for the cutters. You see me recutting the circle because my little sous chef Jazlynn informed me that the R needs to be hanging over the circle. And you see her little hands here. She's telling me that I need to do the outline, a specific color. She's a Roblox fan and she is also extremely detail oriented. So if I'm missing a small little detail, she's going to make sure that I make it perfect for the kiddo. Because she's a kid and she wants that kiddo whose birthday it is to be happy with their cake. So here I took some food coloring. I'm adding a little bit of alcohol to the food coloring to make it a little bit more liquidy, not so much gel. And instead of using fondant for the outline, I have learned that I have a steady hand and I can paint an outline on. And I just have to really take my time on this. If you go too fast, you can make it too thick. I'm telling Jazlynn right here, I start with a thinner line and then I make it thicker because I can always make it thicker, but in order to make it thinner, I've got to start over. So she's just over here observing and making sure I'm doing the right things. Now I am going to attach the R. The R will attach slightly on the edges with the food coloring, but I'm going to add a little bit of water underneath, not too much, again, so it doesn't bleed, just to make sure it adheres to the circle. And on this, I will be painting the outline of the R again to match the outline of the circle. And when I'm painting, I'm making sure not only to get the top edge, but to get the side edges of the fondant so you don't see that white line between the two reds on the cake. So this time I didn't ice the cake directly on the board that I'm going to display it on. So I'm using an offset spatula to transfer it, put a little bit icing underneath the cake just to hold it still. Now, I had no idea until I made this cake that this is called a noob in Roblox. When I first saw the image, I just thought it was a Lego head. But I was corrected by my 7-year-old, and she's helping me with the specifics, like I said earlier. So I didn't have to refrigerate that R since it's flat. I was able just to lay it on, but you got to get it right from the beginning or else it's stuck. Now I'm creating a mouth with the circle cutter just to create the same half circle type of moon look. I'm making sure that it's the right size. I'm asking Jazlynn about it actually, and she gave me the okay. Yeah! And what I'm going to do is put it on a board with some cornstarch, because for this mouth, it's a little bit too flexible for my liking to put on a cake. So I'm going to put it on the board and finish it on the board, putting the tongue on it and the black outline. And what I will do after that is put it in the refrigerator for a handful of minutes so that it firms up. So I pulled it out of the refrigerator and I can put it directly on the cake. The cake has been sweating a little bit, which isn't too big of an issue, but I won't have to use any water to attach it. And I'm just making sure it's centered before I completely push it down. I'm going to take a little bit of water, not too much because there's food coloring on the edge of that mouth, to get rid of the cornstarch, and I'll brush some of the cornstarch off the mouth so that there's no white, dusty looking mouth on the cake. Ew! Next up we have the eyes. I'm just going to use a circle cutter, clean up the edges a little bit and put the eyeballs on there. Next up, I'm going to put a ribbon around the bottom. I chose blue because apparently a noob's shirt is blue. And I'm making sure I get the right blue by my sous chef. She's keeping me in line. And what I'll do is the same formula that I used 2 weeks ago to get the circumference, which is C equals 2 pi times R, or you can just do pi times the diameter, which in this case is an 8-inch cake again. So I have to make sure that my ribbon length is about just over 25 inches long. The ribbon cutter I use doesn't always give me completely clean edges, so I'm going back with my X-Acto knife to go along the edge and really clean it up so that there's no raggedy sheds of fondant hanging off on the cake. So again, I'll start the ribbon on the back of the cake so that the seam, when I'm finished, is in the back and not seen. Jazlynn informed me that I needed to add highlights to the eyes because, you know, she's the one familiar with this game. Yeah, so I followed her design lead and went ahead and did that. Now, since I'm writing on the cake this time and not the board, I'm kind of marking the cake just a little bit so that I can make sure my writing is centered. I'm just doing this with a toothpick because if I mess up, I can erase it in a way and then those lines aren't seen. Now watch closely. There you see I hit my hand on the cake, so now I have a dent right in the edge. But over the years I've learned with a cold cake you can pretty much fix anything, so I'll show you how to do that later. So after I finished writing on the cake, I put the cake back in the refrigerator so the icing could get real firm again and cold. And here you see me just dabbing a little bit on the top and then on the side, and then I smooth it out so that you can't even tell that that happened. So it's very much like, I guess, spackling a drywall or something like that. So it's always good to have a little bit of extra icing in every color just in case there's a little bit of a mistake.